Boy, do we ever have a lot of stuff to discuss before this game, and we don't have a whole lot of time to do it. I will get to as many comments as possible, but we've had a lot of developments with this team over the last 45 minutes to an hour or so, and I was really plugging away getting the show ready. Please forgive me if anything here is incorrect. If any of you guys get live updates, let me know. If any of you guys are at the game and you see anything with the line rushes, please let me know, because I have no idea what the lines are going to look like. This is wild today. So we're going to get right to it here. So, don't sue me. All right. Third meeting this year between the Hurricanes and the Rangers. The Hurricanes are 23-11-3 and 12-6-1 at home. The Rangers are 19-17-4, 14-6-1 at home. Or that's supposed to be 14-7-1 at home. Like I said, I hurried up to put this together. So don't be that afraid of the away record, but they still have a pretty good one with 14-7-1. In the last 10 games, the Hurricanes are 6-3-1. The Rangers are 4-5-1 in their last 10, and they are fresh off a loss as well. This is the third meeting of the season between these two. Carolina won in MSG on the 4th of November, 3-0, and then lost 4-2 in one of their poorest performances of the season thus far on 26 November in the Lenovo Center. And then this is to see who takes the lead in the season series tonight. So this is another one of those games, and I talked about it before a few weeks ago on another episode of Landfall Hour. This could be one of those games that's essential to the standings and that the tie-breaking criteria may come into play. So as of right now, there is a 5-way tie in points for Wild Card 2 in the East between the Florida Panthers, the Buffalo Sabres, the New Jersey Devils, and the New York Rangers. All of them have 42 points. Pittsburgh is right behind them at 41, and that's who Carolina is playing tomorrow. So you got an important set of games coming up here right before the new year. It would be of great benefit of the Hurricanes to win them both. It's going to be rough, but getting it done is going to pay dividends later. I think that's how tight the standings are, where you're playing against two teams that are fighting for wild card 2 and that are only 1 point apart between the two of them. Additionally, the Rangers are going to try really hard to win tonight because all the teams around them have 2 to 3 games in hand on the Rangers. So they're in a tough spot. They don't want to lose tonight and make it worse. They're going to be playing desperate. All right, so the big picture here. Carolina, 126 goals for, 108 against for a differential of plus 18. The Rangers are only at a negative 3 goal differential with 104 for and 107 against. So definitely something that they could turn around in one game. Don't let that game be tonight. So goals for per game, Carolina is sitting at 3.30. That is excellent considering the history of this team. Sometimes they don't have that many at this point in the season or at any point during a season. They've actually done an excellent job keeping the goal scoring up, especially with all the injuries that have plagued the defense more than anything and plagued the bottom 6 forwards. So in that regard, as far as injuries go, Carolina's been massively unfortunate, but you've not lost a ton of top 6 man hours. That's starting to stack up a little bit with Jarvis being out with the rib. Goals for per game for the Rangers, they're sitting at 2.55, a little bit uncharacteristic for them, a little bit lower than where they're normally at. Goals against per game, Carolina 2.86 to 2.68 for the Rangers. Power play, Carolina sitting at 16.7. That needs to keep going up. You got to get that up to 20 sooner rather than later. And then 18.4 for the Rangers on the power play. They still have a good amount of weapons there and everything, even with Adam Fox and JT Miller being out. We're going to talk about that a little bit here in a bit. Penalty kill percentage, Carolina hovering right at 80.8. Not bad considering the injuries. Again, the Rangers are right at 81.6. Face-off percentage, 49.2 for Carolina, so they're getting closer to finally breaking the 50% mark and hoping that they stay there. And the face-off percentage for the Rangers is 54.3. So, speed. Speed's going to be a big factor tonight. The Rangers have some of their younger guys in the lineup with a lot of the injuries they have, and one of the advantages there, they'll be a little bit faster than what you see with the normal roster. However, Carolina has the edge in 22-mile-an-hour bursts. They have 51 to 42. They also have the edge in 20 to 22-mile-per-hour bursts with 827 to 797. So speed off the hop looks to favor Carolina a little bit. And then 18 to 20-mile-per-hour bursts, 3,582 for Carolina versus 3,857 for the Rangers. So at the lower gears there in third gear, the Rangers have a little bit of an advantage, but you go up above that, Carolina seems to have a step on them. Zone time. Carolina currently leads the National Hockey League in the best offensive zone time and the least defensive zone time. with 45.7 in the offensive zone, 18.4 in the neutral zone, bested only by Vegas in that regard, and 36% in the defensive zone. The Rangers, 42% offensive zone time. Considering some of their struggles, that's still pretty solid. It's a positive differential for them overall, 17.4 in the neutral zone and 40.6 in the defensive zone. So you do have a decent amount of an advantage there as far as how you can sustain offensive zone time against the Rangers, and you are going to need it. Igor Shesterkin is in net. We are going to talk about that. Zone map. Carolina, again, advantage on volume shooting, about 200 shots more at all locations, and a decent margin at every single category after that. High danger, 317 to 289. Mid-range, 365 to 273. Long range, 286 to 254. So when you look at these maps side by side, you'll notice, again, about a 200 shot difference there in all locations, but Carolina's got those advantages in volume shooting everywhere. They need to use that tonight. Igor Shesterkin, even when he's off his game, is still a great goalie. He's not someone that you beat easily. Going into looking at the shooting percentages here, this is where the Rangers have a advantage in high danger shots at 17.3 to 16.4. Carolina has the advantage in the other two categories at 12.9 to 11.7 and 4.2 to 3.5 in the long range. At all locations, however, Carolina has a slight advantage of 0.4. It's 10.2 to 9.8. So, again, shoot the puck, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. Try to create quality chances because you're playing against a really, really good goalie. He's one of the best there is, even when he's off his game. You kind of you need to make that work tonight. Pepper him with as many shots as possible and keep them out of Carolina's end. So the more that play in the offensive zone, the better. Just capitalize on something. All right, so we got a duplicate there. My bad. The Canes have claimed forward Noah Phillip off of waivers. Right-handed, 27-year-old center. Stands 6'3", 198 pounds. He has, I believe, 15 points. I didn't get a chance to put that in here. What I did note more than anything, he has recorded 39 hits in 30 games played at the NHL level. So hopefully he'll bring a little bit more physicality than Mark Jankowski, because that could definitely be needed. Additionally, I would also like to wish everybody Happy New Year and happy Fuck Scott Morrow Day to all of us who celebrate it. Additionally, the Canes have some questions on the blue line tonight. Gavin Bayreuther has been recalled. It doesn't look like Gostisbehere is going to play. We're going to get to that. Of course, Slavin is still out. I'm guessing the other questionable would be Miller, and I guess we'll see a lot of Nikishin and Walker tonight, as Adam Gold alluded to in one of his posts, which is cited in here, and we will talk about that here in a little bit. Yes, Dylan, Morrow is playing, if you call what he does playing hockey. So we had some news drop on us out of nowhere. Look at the timestamps on this. All this stuff happened fast. This was when I was in the process of getting the show ready, and I added this all in here. I clicked on Chip Alexander's profile to make sure I wasn't getting Frank, to make sure it was the Chip Alexander. Brendan Moore says Kochekov has decided to have surgery, is out for the year. I was kind of taken aback by this, but when I think about it, he did look a little bit off this entire season, but was still playing relatively well. Ryan Hinkle then tweeted, just a few minutes later, Brendan Moore on Kochekov, it's what he's been dealing with all year. He's decided to have surgery. He didn't feel right all year, was playing through it, but he doesn't want to continue that way, so we'll get it fixed and we'll go from there. So the whole thing with Carolina carrying three goalies, it's crystal clear now why that was happening. For all the heat that Frederik Andersen has got, and for as bad as his performance has been at times this season, as far as this situation where you have Bussy, you have Kochekov, you have Andersen, and you lose Kochekov, having Andersen right there in the pipeline is definitely not a bad thing. There are way worse situations that you could be in. So Gostisbehere, doubtful for tonight, is slightly tweaked groin, doubtful for tonight. Bayreuther recalled because of that. As we said, expect a heavy dose of Nikishin and Walker tonight. Those guys are going to have to be really on their P's and Q's to shut down the Rangers' top six, even though that they're going to be missing JT Miller. Because they've still got Trocheck, they've still got Zibanejad, they can still cause some problems. Opportunity for Andersen. Corey Lavalette said that Brendan Moore on the opportunity for Andersen was quoted as saying the luxury we had is no longer a luxury anymore, where we had three guys to rely on. Now it's pretty clear we've got these two guys and they've got to figure it out. So here is one. I don't like saying silver lining because I sure as hell didn't want anybody on this team to get hurt because, one, I like everybody on this team, and two, it limits your options. But the one silver lining about it is, barring any sort of other trades or anything like that, you know exactly what you have going forward. You have your work cut out for you. You know who and what you're working with. And maybe that takes some pressure off of Freddie Anderson to know that his spot is a little bit more solidified now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play incredibly well in Pittsburgh tomorrow, because he will be getting the start tomorrow and Brandon Bussey is getting the start tonight. So in addition, Rangers, a little bit of news in regards to them. Mike Sullivan says Adam Fox will not play tonight. Sam Carrick, sick yesterday, is skating. As last I've read, he is a game time decision. JT Miller will join the trip, but he will not be playing tonight in Carolina. So there's that as well. Now, when we go and look at the goaltending matchup here, this is going to be a pretty big test for Bussey as well. I'm sure he had some advance notice that this could happen, but it's still kind of a short notice thing. 14 games played. He has won 12, one loss, one overtime loss, and that overtime loss was most certainly not on him. Thank you, Andrei Svechnikov, which I hate to dog Svechnikov like that, because he's actually been playing really well lately. He has 9 points in his last 5 games. He's been one of Carolina's best forwards. Goals against average of 2.10 and a save percentage of 912. Additionally, his high danger save percentage is still the best in the NHL. Igor Shesterkin has played 31 games, 16 wins, 12 losses, 3 overtime losses, goals against average of 2.51 and a save percentage of 910. So as many losses as Igor Shesterkin has, a lot of it's a lot more on the team in front of him, in my opinion, than it is he himself, considering he still has a sub 3 goals against average on a team that struggles to score 3 goals on average per game and a 910 save percentage. However, the Rangers are much better on the road, so I'm expecting to see the best that they have tonight with the lineup that they have. Saves, save percentage, 912 versus 910, so not a big difference there, even though these guys have kind of a gap there. His high danger save percentage, like I said, Bussey is still number 1 in the NHL in high danger save percentage at 882. He had a 750 the other night, which was very, very important towards Carolina being able to rout the Red Wings as well as they did. He only allowed 2 goals against the other night, 1 at 5-on-5, 1 on the power play. You can't ask for a much better performance from a goalie than that. Igor Shesterkin has a 904 mid-range save percentage ahead of Brandon Bussey at an 880. Not worried about that. Long range, Bussey 957 and 952, so pretty close there as well. When it comes to the Hurricanes, it's more about quantity, not quality on shots. When it comes to any team playing against them, almost all the time, with the exception of a very, very select few teams, Carolina's going to have the volume advantage, and they're going to have it significantly higher. In the event that you play against a team like the Rangers, it's about limiting their chances and then stopping the ones that come through, and that's what Bussey has been good at lately, since he's got to Carolina, I should say. So all that is good right there. I'm expecting a big game out of Bussey tonight. He's got to keep the bus rolling, and then the Canes will be good to go in regards to being able to win this game. Now, goals against at all locations, Bussey, of course, is lower, but you have to look at this kind of disproportionately and everything like that, considering the difference in games played. Igor Shesterkin has played almost twice as many games as Brandon Bussey. But 30 to 78, high danger 14 to 35, mid-range 11 to 25, and long range 2 to 9. Again, don't put too much stock in that. Those numbers would actually be really close probably in the event that these guys had a similar amount of games played. And then we don't need that. And that is everything. I will now get to some comments, because I actually got through that pretty quickly. And like I said, if we're still going at 6:30 and any of you guys are here and see the line rushes, please let me know what you see. Or if you see a tweet about it, whatever. This team can't catch a break with injuries. What's up, Lackey? Yeah, I know, dude. This is just weird. Good on Cooch for focusing on the long term. Yeah, he made the right decision. See, that's one thing I actually want to talk about a whole lot here. When you have the goaltending situation that Carolina has had, which has now proven to be a blessing in disguise, because trust me, there are way worse tandems you could have than Brandon Bussey, who is exceeding all expectations, and Frederik Andersen, who has shown in the past how good he can be, and who might feel a little bit of weight taken off his shoulders, knowing that he's not going to get shipped to China now that Kochetkov is going to have to take the rest of the season off and recover from whatever surgery it is he's having. This could be significantly worse. This is not the worst situation to be in. Canes, like, this could have, if Brandon Bussey showed up and didn't play that well, this could have been bad. And the guy you put on waivers and eventually ended up claiming Bussey in his place with Caden Primo, I almost said Keith Primo, forgive me. He's still in the organization. So The goaltending situation is not horrible, but one of the worst things that could happen to it is losing Kochetkov. But luckily, you have Anderson there. Let's see how he plays now that the pressure is off of him, now that you know definitively he is one of the top 2 goalies that you have in the Hurricanes organization. And good on the front office for holding on to him, knowing that this could happen, because maybe we're just finding out details about it today, but I guarantee you they knew way more about this than we ever did, and they've known about it for a while, which explains a lot of the moves or lack of moves that they've made in regards to the goaltending. Probably one of the worst weeks for this to happen, with there being 5 games and 2 back-to-backs. Yeah, it's not good. But I think they can persevere through it. I'm hoping that the adversity they face with the Florida meltdowns is helped them turn around. I really liked how they played against the Red Wings. The very dominant performance. I can to pick out a time in that game where they just pissed me off. The first 90 seconds or so, I was like, all right, here we go again. This time the Canes aren't gonna blow a lead. They're never gonna have one. And then they settled in and they were fine after that. So I'm not too worried. Hosona, what's up, buddy? I always love when the Canes mess with another club's moves. The waiver pickup has me intrigued. Yeah, I don't know a ton about Noah Phillip. He's in the wrong time zone for me to know a lot about him. Back when I was in the military and I was an insomniac, I would watch West Coast hockey until 1 a.m. I don't really do that anymore because I can actually sleep now. So I have no idea how to say that. Dishish. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, buddy. You can definitely tell he hasn't been right all year in regards to Kochetkov. Yeah, there was something a little bit off with him. I was hoping it would be something that he could work out. Dylan, what's up, dude? Maybe I'm ignorant, but PK helps on IR with trades, don't it? Or am I thinking of something else? It depends. If they place him on long-term injured reserve, if they're not expecting him to be back this season, which is what it sounds like right now, his cap hit would come off the books, and that's more money that the Hurricanes have to play with as far as the salary cap goes. Now, you can't do the thing that Vegas and Florida had been doing for the last few years where they were stashing somebody away on LTIR and then they would magically be healthy for the playoffs, i.e. Mark Stone. You can't do that anymore because the rule has been changed. However, it looks like Kochetkov is not going to be back, so they can go ahead and put him on LTIR if that's what they elect to do. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. And then try to, use that extra cap space in order of making a move. Eve, too, what's up, buddy? How's it going? It's going good, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Did you have a good holiday? Yes, I did. Hope you had a good one as well. Tough news about Kochetkov, and I'm excited about Phillip. Yeah, I'm interested to see what Noah Phillip's going to bring to the table. If nothing else, I'm hoping that this guy's got any semblance of physicality and that Jankowski's out of the lineup, because Jankowski's a 13th forward at best, and he's not a normal 13th forward at that, because a lot of times 13th forwards are really gritty, physical, grinder types of players, and he's got skill set attitude, or highly skilled attitude, and not the production to go with it, not the skill to go with it. I forget who said it, but he's got 100 point aura and 20 point production. And he won't throw a hit to save his life. The only way Mark Jankowski is ever going to record any hits is if he can sing or dance. And I don't know if he can do either one of those things. If he can, he should do that instead of being an NHL player. I normally don't say stuff like that about these guys because I know I could never do their job. But when he missed all them open nets he missed the other night, I mean, I was already done with him when he turtled, when Nick Paul was just wailing on him and having his way with him and nothing being done about it. And the guy that was taken out of the lineup for him, Kotkaniemi, was the one who came over there and bailed him out. So I'm just kind of over him. I really am. It's like I've said multiple times about Scott Morrow, who we will see tonight, that everything else that happened in game 1 was forgivable up until he pulled up on that chance that he had to, finish that hit on Matthew Tkachuk. I was done with him at that point. I was like, no, trade him, get him out. And thankfully they did that. That being said, he is definitely getting a point tonight because it's just the Carolina Hurricanes way. Lackey says, I'm curious if the acquisition of Phillip leads to anything. Yeah, I'm curious to see what goes on. It may just be a transactional thing that they had the availability to get him. It doesn't look like he's going to play tonight as far as I know. I don't know. I imagine he will not be playing tonight because I just don't see any way they'd get him here on time considering when that was announced. Guitar Jim, well, finally made it. WNC Puck Drop here. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Grayson, what's up, dude? With Piotr out for the year, is the Canes not making the playoffs and not going deep? Morning take. Sorry if I overreacting. I just got scared. I don't think that we have to worry about them not making the playoffs. eventually some of the teams that are fighting for wild card too, and it's just because there's only so many points to go around, you only play so many games against your division and all that type of stuff. Eventually somebody's going to fall out of the picture. Points are finite, they're valuable. So at some point or another, somebody's going to fall out of the playoff picture. I'm not really worried about Carolina being one of those teams that does it. I would like for them to have a little bit more of a buffer than they have right now. And if they hadn't absolutely collapsed in the 3 Florida massacres, they could be 4 or 5 points higher than what they are now, and I wouldn't be worried about it at all. In general, I don't think it's going to be a problem. WNC Puck Drop says it's going to need another goalie soon. That's a distinct possibility. Let's see how Freddie does. Maybe that will negate that. A little bit worried about it, and that leads to what Lackey is saying. Team is fucked. Should something happen to Bussy? Yeah, then I would be worried. Right now I'm not, but then I would be worried. Is Morrow playing? Yeah. F the Rags, I agree. Damn, hate to hear that. Yeah, it's so Panthers J-Dub says, so Freddie was just sucking while Cooch was trying to carry him injured. Freddie needs to sharpen up. This is his chance to do that. We got some clarity at least. Good luck, PK. Yeah, he made the right decision for his career. Needs to stop hanging out in the sin bin. I'm guessing that's referencing Svechnikov. He's not nearly as bad about taking the penalties as he used to. And honestly, penalty taking Svechnikov is also like physical and scoring Svechnikov. So, I mean, I'll personally kind of take the trade off from that. Bobby Marshall says, Carrier had a gritty game against the Wings. I was very happy with Carrier. And when he's been in the lineup, he's been Carolina's most consistent forward in terms of playing the role you expect him to play. Very happy with Carrier lately. He's been really good. AB, what's up? Says Freddie to China. We can't send him to China yet. Freddie can't go to China yet. He's your best option at number 2. And then if Bussy falls off a cliff, then at least you still have him. So, but no Freddie to China. The only person I want sent to China right now is Jankowski. Won't get sent to China. Yeah, probably not. Excuse me. AB also says Anderson will do this. Terrible push-offs, VH awful, and slow to challenge the shooter. Matthew, what's up, buddy? Does Phillip kill penalties? I don't know. I perfectly honest, I've only looked at some of the stats. I do not know much about Noah Phillip. I'm going to figure it out, though. Ethan Reed says Florida have a real cap problem incoming. Kachuk is coming back soon, and that blows them way over the cap. Their contracts are either trade protected or too cheap for them to dump for room, except one, and on Anton Lundell, Canes 2C. Let me look at something because they didn't put Barkov on LTIR because apparently they're going to try to have him back before the playoffs, which I just hope he doesn't get hurt doing that, because that could end his career, and I like Sasha Barkov. I definitely, out of all the players in the game that I would kind of go if they had their career ended, Barkov's not one of them. I really like him. Let's see. Deadline cap 1,867,293. That's the current space as well. It also depends on the daily cap hit because cap space accrues. Yeah, I'm wondering how that's going to work, honestly. They upgraded Kachuk to day-to-day, so he'll probably be ready by the time that they come to Raleigh on the 16th. Lovely. As long as they don't activate Barkov, they'll be fine. I don't really see how they're going to do this, though. I'm going to have to do some more research on that because I haven't got very long to finish up the show. Dylan says, say what you want about KK, but he's never backed down from anyone. That's one of the reasons I like him. Grayson says, I really think Piotr made the best decision for him and the team, honestly, by thinking about it once Freddie's contract is up. Yeah, I think he did the right thing. I really do. I'm glad that he made. Your health has to come first. You know, what good does it do Pyotr Kochekov to play at 50% and then maybe have an injury that ends his career or derails him, coming back, or he's out longer because it was just, it's a risk versus reward thing, and the risk is not worth the reward of keeping him in the lineup. And, let him get sorted out, and he can still be part of the future of the Hurricanes. I'm interested to see how he would do at 100% health. So let him get to that. You've got a tandem that can potentially take you very far. Bussy's got to keep taking steps. Anderson has to have a resurgence, but both those things are totally within the realm of possibility. Ahozona says, when Carrier, Stahl, and Marty are in the lineup, there's a ridiculously good stat for wins, losses, as opposed to when one is missing. I can see that. Rod relies on that line a lot. So, like, you have a team that is built to defend well and defend, defense first. Defense is your priority. Matchups, when you can dictate them, even better. And that's a line that he leans on a whole lot to make sure the other three lines can get the net positives and they're shutting down the other team's best players. So when they're around, Rod leans on that line a lot to make those types of things happen. And one of the things I love about that line, the simpleness and effectiveness of it, you can try and prepare for it as much as you want when you're playing against them. But at the end of the day, they just grab their lunch pails and they go to work. So that's one of the reasons I love that line so much. They're great to put out there after you had a couple of rough shifts and you need to, turn the momentum around, or you need to put them out there to make sure that, you're protecting the lead, everything like that. This team is built to play with the lead. That line doesn't always give you the lead, but that line is the one that is typically charged with pulling the most weight and protecting the lead. So, yeah, I can definitely see that there's a much bigger difference when that line is playing together. My friend Griff said it one time on Caniac sessions back in the day when we talked about who should play with Stahl and Martinook, considering that Jesper Fast, unfortunately, his career was over at that point. It hadn't been formally announced, but we knew it. Or we ended up, finding that out. Well, he said if God could create somebody to play with Jordan Stahl and Jordan Martinook, it would be William Carrier. And that's what it is. And when Carrier is healthy and he's in the lineup, dude's an absolute wrecking ball. I've been very pleased with how he's played. Bobby Marshall says KK will roll up in somebody's face after a dirty hit. Yeah. I see people wanting us to call about Demko that Dylan Bollinger says. I was against that until an hour and a half ago, just because of the injury history that Demko has, which is about on par, maybe a little bit worse than Freddie's. But, 20 skaters and 3 goalies. You can carry 3 goalies. It's not an ideal situation. Depending on what the front office decides to do, I could see them potentially going that route, but you better have some bubble wrap and find a way to keep both Anderson and Bussy better not go anywhere. I will start a mostly fiery but mostly peaceful protest outside of Lenovo Center if Bussy is sent anywhere else. We're 3 days away from him being extension eligible. I mean, and my birthday's on January 1st. I that's what I want. My birthday is a Brandon Bussy extension. That's what I want more than anything. And Robert Thomas. That would be nice, but that's not going to happen, I don't think. Matthew says someone floated the idea we convinced Marc-Andre Fleury to come out of retirement. I mean, if he wants another cup, he would give the Canes a damn good shot at getting one. And, I didn't like Fleury when he played for the Penguins, but, ever since I've really grown fond of the guy. He's such a likable person. Dylan says Tulsky seems to have an eye on players who will thrive here, so clearly he sees something in Noah Phillip. Yeah, we'll see. Nikki put Matthew back on IR like they did with Jacob. Yeah, I would like to see him lay a big hit on him. That would be cool. AB says Primo's in the system. If injury happens, I have faith, but if you target a goalie, I want Gibson. Detroit's not going to give him up. Not when they're sitting in second in the Eastern Conference. There's no way they're going to give him up. That's just not happening. Dylan says, I'm worried when Stahl and Marty retire who we could trade for or in our prospects pool that could take over. Well, Martinook's going to play until he's 50, so don't worry about that. Depending on what the situation is with the roster, I could see Jordan Stahl coming back for one more season. And Jordan Stahl's got one of those skill sets that aged really, really well. He's slow to accelerate, but fast when he's already built up momentum. He's always taking passing lanes away. Stick's always in the right place. He's always in the right place. He knows when to do the aggressive forechecking. He knows when to telegraph passes. As gritty of a game as Jordan Stahl plays, it's about the most intellectual, gritty game that a player can have. And that's why he's been so effective in that role. He really has perfected that capability. Hey, we're both January kids. Yeah, we are. Yes, we are, my friend. So that's about all I have for tonight. I'm confident that Carolina will win this game, primarily because Bussey's in net. Anderson can really start the road to resurgence tomorrow against the Penguins. Additionally, I do plan on doing Landfall Hour after this game. Got my stuff to take my notes right here and everything like that. But Carolina still to recover from the disaster that was the 3 games against Florida and Tampa. They need to win tonight and they need to win tomorrow. And even then, it takes a while for the damage to be undone from this. So, everybody, thank you very much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. I will talk to you after the game. If I do not talk to you after the game, I will talk to you tomorrow.